So that wasn't when you went to your village. Did you go? You went to Bela, was it?
Yeah, Bela. I didn't go to Dera Ghazi Khan
Okay.
um, because there's a nuclear reactor near Dera Ghazi Khan.
Yes.
And
Foreigners are not allowed. Yeah.
yeah, just the week before I went, like I think some Swedish woman had been picked up and no one knew where she was, and I thought maybe this is not the best idea.
Yeah.
So, and it's like near Balochistan, like yeah, not a good idea basically from Indian Army going near that area. So I just went to Bela. Yeah,
So was
obviously,
that your first time in Pakistan?
yeah, it was my first time in Pakistan. Yeah.
Okay. Um, how how did you? I'm assuming you've written about this, but for the purposes of the episode, um, what was the plan when you went there, and how did that pan out?
Like to Pakistan?
Bela specifically.
Oh, no, specifically to my village.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I'd done my research into like where it was. It's very isolated. It's more like a hamlet than a village. It's just all these hills. Maybe like the kind of villages they describe more like they're like uh, I forgot the exact there's a phrase, but certain villages in rural India, rural Pakistan, you don't describe by population. You describe by how many kitchens there are
Right.
in the
Sure.
village.
Sure.
Yeah, one of those kinds of villages. And I've just heard the story about this Muslim family that saved my grandfather's life,
Yep.
and so I didn't expect to meet them, but then when I found the village was that small, I said, maybe some of them are still around. So I bought this box of mithai, and I thought, I'll just go there and show up and see what happens. And I was with Sam. I was with my best Ani. She's my best friend in Melbourne, just from Lahore.
Hmm.
So he lives in Islamabad, and we kind of went together. Um, and yeah, it was because then I Nana always said like, oh, it's like near Attock because like the whole area was called Campbellpur, which then became Attock. Was renamed. It ended up being quite far from Attock. It was another 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a bit of a hiccup. It was like, where are you taking me, man? Like, come on. how, how am I gonna drive up those rocks? No one drives here. No one's heard
Yeah.
of this. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
and then because like a few of the stories that you mentioned, like there was the person who lived, the family that lived opposite a mandir, and they had moved to, I think they had moved. This was India, so they moved to Pakistan, and there was a Hanif
yeah,
family, and nobody remembered. And you were just asking people, like, all right, we have the mandir, that should be
yeah,
the house. Let's just drop their name and see if anyone remembers.
yeah.
Um, was it a similar sort of situation? Did you have somebody in Bela where you're like, we have to find this guy, or just
No, no. I think it was much easier to find this family in Bela than it was finding the Pandit family that remembered. She's passed away now, but Dr. Siddiqui.
yeah?
Her maiden name was Hanif.
Hmm.
Um, her house didn't exist, but the mandir still existed.
Right.
So when we were looking, we're like, oh, was there like a big block here of kind of describing her house, and then obviously went into the mandir. It was
Hmm.
very like this old pujari who remembered that family. He's like, yeah, we knew the Hanifs. Like, you're at the right spot. So then that's when we reconnected them. So that was super special. Um, Lucknow is quite big. Bela is really small. So the first person I met was some old woman walking down in the village. And I was like, this is a story. And I need to meet with the Nambardar because, Nana's like, the village is Nambardar, their family saved us.
Hmm.
And so I was like, have you heard of the Nambardar? And like, this is such a small village. The family's still called like the Nambardar, like
Right.
this, it's just kind of gone down. It hasn't been that long if you think about it. Two
Hmm.
generations.
2 generations. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she directed me to, their house, and I met like the son of the man who saved my grandfather's life, and we had that. Like, gave him the box of mithai, and he told me about it. He was like 3 years old at the time. It was quite like touching because I had heard the story, and my mom had heard the story since we were like kids, of this Nambardar and who like kind of saved our lives and hid us in
Hmm.
his barn. And I was like telling him the story, and he's like, "Yeah, that's my dad you're talking about," because I've heard the story a million times as well.
Oh, he was
Um, and,
telling his son that I saved.
yeah,
This guy, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So he was like, "Come, let me show you where your old like house was." It was just a plot of land now. It was still overlooking like, and it matched my, my nana's descriptions perfectly because he was like, "Oh, there was like Darya was there, and then like there was a hill just across, and we're
Yeah.
facing masjid. The masjid was still there, so like it all checked out,
Mm.
Uh, yeah, to the point where the nickname for the hill, because I just asked someone, I was like, "Oh, what's that hill over there?" And there's like they say that's Bolni Wali Daddi. And
Wow.
my nana would say, as kids, we'd go out the house and we'd like shout words at the hill, and it would echo back to us. And
Right.
my nana still he says like Daddi, he doesn't say Pahar. So
Right.
for them to say, "Oh, it's Bolni Wali Daddi," like it's like, okay, this is the right place. We found the
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, is your nana still alive?
yeah, he's still
Okay.
around.
So
Yeah.
were you able to do the VR connection with him then?
No, we haven't actually shown him because I haven't been able to go back to India since.
Right.
So I'm going back in a couple months to show the VR experience. But he's seen all the photos and he's spoken to the Nambardar's family, and we've done
Okay.
that kind of connection. And in fact, like different generations of the family now, I gave him like my Mamu connected with the Nambardar's son and like told my mother up. And, it's just kind of like I was invited to a wedding there.
Oh,
I
nice.
couldn't but it was just more like, oh, you're like a long lost Hindu brothers, like come
Yeah.
back. This is your village. You can stay as long as you want. So next time I go, I might stay for, a little bit longer.